Hi, Jonah here with Parts Built 3D, and today I have the new Flashforge Creator Pro version 2. It's an independent dual extruder 3D printer, and it's similar to the Creator Pro, but it has some upgrades such as the independent dual extruders. So I just took it out of its box and set it up here on my workbench. And here's the little starter pack that comes with it, or the accessories, and then it also comes with a quick start guide, an SD card. You get an extra build sheet, and down in here is your self-leveling, your little leveling card there. Okay, so in the little styrofoam here we have our two spool holders. I'm going to go ahead and put them on the back of the printer. Those go on nice and easy. And we get a little glue stick. Our little accessory pack comes with a little bit of grease, some spare parts, and tools. Get our power cord, scraper, USB cable, and extruder mounting screws, and then the little brackets that the independent dual extruders will go over and set on so the nozzle doesn't leak filament. Alright, so we'll go ahead and take the tape off here. These are our dual extruders. I do notice on the independent dual, got a lot of aluminum here and larger heat sinks. Each independent extruder has its own part cooling fan. We'll go ahead and get this out. It comes out nice and easy. They fit it all in here really nicely. What you get here is a roll of blue PLA and a roll of white PLA. Kind of shake it out there. That's kind of squeezed in there. That can come out. We have our top cover. Set that around back here for a minute. And we also have our filament guide tubes, which I set around here because they were on the top of the box. Here they are. So we have the two filament guide tubes come with it as well. I'll go ahead and take the rest of the styrofoam out. So to get this bottom piece out, what you do is just manually turn your lead screw here to raise the print bed. Let's get it up a little ways. So that might be enough. I'll go a little higher with it. Okay, so there we have it. And there's some twist ties up in here, one over here, and then you can see that one real well, and there's a couple in the back. So you want to get up there with a pair of cutters and snip those off. Oh, that one's a really big one there. Okay, and you also got a few little yellow tabs that hold the belts in place while it's shipping. Go ahead and pop those off. And you can slide the whole gantry forward, get this last one off, and we got everything freed up there. See if I can bring the camera a little closer so you can see. Our left extruder, our right extruder. What's really nice about the Independent Dual Extruder is you don't have to worry about the filament from the extruder that's not being used dripping onto your print. So if you're using multicolor material, you don't have to worry about that other color dripping onto the print. The way it works is one extruder will stay off to the side while one is printing. And then when this one is done with its layer, it'll move aside and this one will come in and do the printing. And it'll do the same with support material as well. So with our little extruder mounting screw kit here, we have the screws to mount the extruders. And if you look on the bottom of them, we have 4 screw holes. So we're going to set this right on here. I'm going to come up through the bottom and mount them in. There are 8 socket head cap screws that are about, those are about 12, 14 millimeters long. And those are the ones you want to use. I'll slide it off to the side here. Take it down snug. I got that one fastened on. And the fan just sits right on the print shroud, blows it right over to cool it off. This one will do the same thing. Okay, there we go. So we have both of these attached. And I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and plug it in and turn it on and see what we have. I'll leave that little bit of plastic on there for now, just so I don't get my fingerprints all over the screen. So as you see, the interface menu is very similar to the Inventor or Dreamer. You can preheat, you can print from your SD card. We can go in here and home and do our leveling. So when you're doing your leveling, what you do, I'll go ahead and do that. Pull out your little self-leveling card here. So they want you to screw the nuts under the platform counterclockwise until they're tight, and then tap next. So take these all the way down, just till they snug up. No need to crank them down tight. Go ahead and hit next here. And then what you're going to do is adjust your build plate height until this leveling card just barely rubs. I like to leave the front one a little loose the first time. So right there, it's just starting to catch. I think that's about right. We'll tap next. out there, and we'll tap next. I do like that the screen seems to be nice and snappy. There's no lag. Finish. I'm going to calibrate the so we'll choose to do the left extruder. So we're going to put the leveling card between here, and then we're going to raise the, or in my case, raise the Z-axis until the leveling card just starts to catch on the nozzle. Right there. Just feel it rubbing. It's very loose in there, but you can feel the nozzle hitting the top of it. Heading it okay, and then we'll wait for it to do its thing, and we're going to do the right one. You'll know when you've gone too far that leveling card just got tight in there, so I'm going to back it off one, and there it is. Too tight, back down one, just feel it rubbing. Okay, I'm hitting it okay. So now we've done our build plate leveling, we've done the Z-height calibration, and we're going to go ahead and hit yes to move on to the X-axis. So they want me to put filament in both the extruders, so I'm going to grab a little bit of filament here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the whole printer around so that it's visible what I'm doing, and we will put these filament guide tubes in place. So what I like to do when I'm mounting these filament guide tubes is I put it down to about where that smallest tab is, and I snap in the top two. And I like to push it down and have this out just a tad. It keeps the filament guide tube away from the edge a little bit, and I've noticed on some of my other printers that helps keep the filament from somehow bouncing off the spool sometimes. And put that in. I got the tension of those tab knobs right on this printer, which is nice. They sometimes I've felt them on the older printers, they were a little bit tight, so these are really nice. And then we'll take our filament, pop it on there till it snaps into place. As you can see, it's a little bit of an old school filament I got here, but it still prints very nicely. So you saw how it kind of bounced off there. So what I found helps keep it from bouncing off is I just pull the guide tube out like that and let it run like that, and that keeps the filament in place. I'm going to grab one more spool of filament and load it up. So it looks like what I did is I bumped the LCD screen when I was moving this around, so I'm going to have to do that little part over, but that's okay. I'll just manually load in the filament. I'm going to go manually go back to X calibration. That's the one I skipped over on accident. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can adjust the camera here so that we can get a good video shot of actually what is going on with the calibration. So that looks pretty good to me. What you want is you want the white and blue lines to line up completely. And I think that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get that peeled off. That was a nice layer height too for the initial layer height. So I'm going down here to the LCD screen, going to hit OK, and then we're going to move on to the Y-axis calibration. Now, I forgot to mount the little tabs that catch the filament that drips out, so I'll mount those afterwards. Wow, that looks good. Yeah, those are well lined up. Okay, so on the LCD screen, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And it says my calibration is complete. So the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and mount these guys up. And I'll show you where they go. I'll get the printer turned a little bit here. So you got your extruder going back and forth right here. And this is going to mount. There are two, you can see the heat set inserts there for the bolts to go into. And it's going to mount just down like this. When you mount them, you want the little raised part to be pointing up and the L shape to be pointed up. It's actually a wee bit of an awkward spot to get into. Probably be easier to mount these if I had the build plate down low. I think I'm going to go ahead and lower the build plate here. Yeah, that made it a lot easier. What's going to make it easier is using the hex wrench that Flashforge provides, because they give you a ballpoint hex wrench which lets you come in at an angle and get those in nice and easily. So again, take them down snug. You don't need to over tighten them, but you want to get them tight enough. Nice. I'll go ahead and move this camera back here. So if we get right up close here, you're able to see what's happening here. So this is the catch plate, I guess we'll call it, that I just mounted. And when we roll the extruder over, it just pushes down a little bit, and it keeps any filament from leaking out while your hot end's hot. So you mount that on both sides. We got our filament, load, unload, left and right extruder, build plate leveling. We went through that. You can home all your axes if you want. You got your manual controls. Move your build plate up and down, move your extruders left and right, back and forth. We have about. It's going to tell you what the Flashforge Creator Pro 2 firmware version. Usage counter 4 hours. Flashforge runs some test prints before they ship them out. Tool count 2. That's our 2 hot ends. Got status. Kind of tells us what's going on. Temperature of the extruders and the platform. You can change the color of our LED lights in here. I personally like the white. You can turn them off. Blue's pretty nice. Let's just keep them on white. Then we have settings. And we can do our calibration from here. We can do a factory reset. And we can go into expert mode. And this is for advanced users. It's probably not a good idea to do this unless you know what you're doing. And you can do manual fine calibration in here. But from what I've seen with this printer, the Creator Pro version 2 comes very well calibrated from the factory. So I don't think that would be necessary. And there you have it. That is the Flashforge Creator Pro version 2 with the Independent Dual Extruders. And I think this is going to be a real nice printer. I'm looking forward to printing with it. I like the Independent Dual Extruders a lot better than when they're right together in one block, because you just don't have one extruder interfering with the print when you're printing. And you know, you don't have to worry about that nozzle hitting the print or stuff dripping onto it. It's kind of the way I feel all the dual extruders are heading that way, because it's a better design. Okay, so I just did the video of us taking this out, taking the packaging off, and assembling this printer. And one thing I had wanted to do, and I forgot to do, was I wanted to run the initial test print. So we did the initial calibration, and everything came in good without any adjustment needed for the dual extruder calibration. We leveled the bed and we adjusted the Z height. And I went ahead and put the SD card in, and I made sure I mounted the other one of these little filament catcher plates. So what I'm going to do is go over to the SD card menu here on the LCD screen. And if you'll notice on this Creator Pro version 2, the touchscreen is very snappy. It moves around nicely. You don't have to wait for it or anything. So we're going to go to print, go to the SD card, and under test files, the first one here is a PLA dual print. So I have both my PLAs loaded up. I'm going to go to the dual print. And print time is 4 hours, 17 minutes. So this is going to take a little while. And I'm going to go ahead and hit print. So it's going to be blue and white, because those are the colors that I have loaded up. And I actually have no idea which part of it's going to be blue and which part's going to be white, because I just put the filament into the extruders randomly. But we'll sit here and watch it heat up. Got our left and right extruder both heating up. So with the Flashforge Creator Pro 2, it's the version 2 with the Independent Dual Extruders. It's got the 6x9 build plate, and you can print pretty close to the edge of these build plates. You can get the optional flexible build plate for it that Flashforge makes, which I think is pretty handy. I like it for if you're doing larger prints. It makes it very easy to get those prints off, especially if you're printing, you know, one of the filaments is sticking to the bed a little more than you're used to. You just bend that flex plate and it comes right off. Let's do an initial purge prints there. And bring this up a little bit. Let me see the prints a little better. Looks like my filament got tangled a little bit in the back, so hopefully this print won't fail on me. I'm going to run this until the second color comes in so we can see how the independent dual extruder works. And then I'll go ahead and shut off the video and wait for the print to finish and come back when the print is done. But so far this is printing a very nice raft. For its first print, with just the initial calibration, it's printing flawlessly. Print's nice and quiet too. I like that. It's quieter than some of my other printers. I'm going to go ahead and move the camera here. So right now it's putting down the first layer of the part. It's done putting the raft. Okay, now here comes the other extruder. I'm going to print the next color on there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off, and in about 4 hours I'll come back and show you guys the final print. Okay, the print has finished. I didn't quite catch it before it finished, so I didn't get it finishing up, but here it is. Let's see. Came off pretty nicely. There it is. I think that turned out really nice for my first multicolor print on the Flashforge Creator Pro version 2. I mean, look at that. It got that very, very accurately. So, pretty happy with it. Nice printer.